When fantasy becomes a reality, can the youth of the Heavenly Dynasty embark on the path of becoming a god? Chen Ang, who possesses the ability to travel through time, travels through a fantasy world. In the world of Endless, gain superhuman wisdom, and in the world of Superbody, glimpse the mystery of becoming a god. Starting from laughing proud in the Jianghu, cultivate internal skills, evolve oneself, and from the disaster of the python, obtain the key to immortality, superhuman serum, desperate potions, X. Factor, spider genes, and lizard potions. The road to becoming a god through medication is long and rugged, and the forbidden zone of God is dangerous and difficult. I will not regret it all the way. Keywords of the novel. Fantasy World Journey no pop-ups, Fantasy World Journey Complete Collection Download, Fantasy World Journey Latest Chapter Reading. Smiling and Proud in the Jianghu Volume End Sentiment. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Smiling and Proud Jianghu volume has 2 chapters to come to an end. In this volume, the biggest gain should be the establishment of the protagonist's personality, love for learning, respect for knowledge, and inquisitiveness, which are his distinctive characteristics. Afterwards, there is the chapter, Never Heartless, which firmly respects life and compassion. Of course, the most important thing is my positioning of the protagonist. He is not a saint, nor a scholar, but a seeker of enlightenment. This will be implemented throughout the entire book. In my heart, the protagonist is a determined, intelligent, and difficult-to-kill person. His image is closer to tradition, not so ruthless and ruthless, but with a somewhat gentle and scholarly demeanor, which is my definition of the protagonist. Of course, he is not indecisive, nor can he be indecisive, because his emotions are always weak, seemingly heartless and emotional. I wrote a book about martial arts, but after half of the battle, the protagonist only killed 2 people. Fortunately, there were 4 elders from the demon cult filling the gap. Otherwise, how could I feel ashamed to say that what I wrote was about the martial arts world? Wuxia is a very important element in this book, but not the entire book is about wuxia. In fact, a diverse world is one of my favorite elements, so in the next volume, the protagonist will definitely not go to the world of wuxia, but rather a world that is relatively few people describe. Or, to put it another way, it is a world of science fiction with a subcutaneous and spiritual core. For writing about the new world, this is a difficult point because I really don't have any experience in describing the science fiction world, and I am also very uncertain. A friend advised me that if your martial arts grades are so good, why not just go all the way down and use the science fiction world as a golden finger to embellish it. I have been tempted, not to write about the world of martial arts all the way over, but to use martial arts dungeons before listing, but still give up. Although this is relatively guaranteed, it will delay the quality of my book and cause conflicts in the structure of the outline. I can't write a story that I don't like, nor can I write a book that caters to readers. If you want to like a story, I should love it myself first. Perhaps my writing ability is limited and I cannot write the effect I want, but I won't go in any other direction, that's it. The protagonist's personality will not undergo significant changes. He may be richer and more vivid, but he will not suddenly become cold, ruthless, or selfish. Next, there is a new challenge. If I feel that writing in a new world is not good, I will take up time to stop writing and make revisions. I will send you new chapters every day until I write the text that I am satisfied with. If it doesn't suit everyone's taste, I don't have the face to ask everyone to stay and take a look. Just ask everyone to give me more time, and I will do better. Xiaoao Jianghu Dungeon 1 End the Countdown. Recommend a book called The First Shuttle Walker in History. You are listening at novelfull.audio. My friend Bai Siwen's masterpiece is similar in style to this book. Those who are interested can go and take a look. Also, my body is much better now, there must be a night shift tonight. Sanjiang speech. You are listening at novelfull.audio. According to old customs, it is necessary to write a speech when going to Sanjiang. Firstly, I would like to express my gratitude to my editor Blu-ray, who has been following my work closely. The ubiquitous care of the editor is truly inspiring. Every Friday noon, when I open my mailbox and see timely recommendations, my whole body is filled with passion for coding. And then thank my readers. The first helmsman in this book is gentle and skillful. I have been encouraging my friends since I was young, such as NI 9988, Dishuai, Tingling Xiao, Duo Taishu, and Heijuan 1233, and my old reader, Dragon de Soul. On my writing journey, I met new friends. Speechless Heart, Sweating, Speechless Shu Hail, Whirled, Stolen Passport, Blue Sky, Su Wunan Su, Passing Away. Solo Dance, Cold Stars Under the Dark Moon, Facing Jisher to the East to View the Vast Sea, DF-154, Clouds and DJs in the Sky, Eating Bookworms, Autumn 17, Fantasy Love Yoshin, Yuan Dao Star, Searching for Peerless Good Books, with hundreds of names. Tearful Eyes. There is also the rule of appearing on time every day. Many people. It's really exciting. There are also friends who are active in the book review section, villains and bugs who show affection, Boring Water who envy and hate them, and Hideyoshi from the Uchiha family who always urge me to update on the Tianji Maple Leaf and Missing Horse. There is also the Hessa bitter coffee that appears when seedlings are young. The Lord of Time with sincere comments, one drifting with the maple, one exotic demon, the last passerby to expose my armor. There are too many people, and time is not enough. Many friends who remember their names don't have time to thank them. Thank you for accompanying me through this journey, and I hope you can continue to accompany me on this journey. Chen 11, thank you. Tell me my thoughts on this book. This is a novel about time and space travel. The protagonist in my imagination is a calm and somewhat humorous person who knows his own pursuits and respects life and personality. He is a seeker of the Tao, a traveler, and a person who is determined to set foot on the road, but will stop for the scenery on the road. For the original work, of course, it is not black. I will do my best to respect the character's personality in the original work and interpret my own story. Speaking of which, I feel like what I want to express is actually already in the book. Thank you for sharing with me the joy of this book and your support, which is my greatest motivation. Thank you again. Also, throw the Sanjiang ticket and recommendation ticket at me. I want to rise up, I'm joking, the speed of my hand is so slow. What's up? I only hope that this book will be accompanied by you. August 17, 2015, Chen 11. Recommendation, Super Time Garbage Station. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Do you think today is gone? How could it be? Although I was very busy and rushed today, I still managed to complete the third shift. Everyone vote to encourage it. I feel so tired now. I would like to recommend my good friend's work, Super Time and Space Garbage Station. Thank you to my friends for their support. Of course, everyone should be even more grateful. Chapter 1. Brain Overfrequency. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Standing on the streets of Taiwan. Chen Ang silently swallowed a transparent small pill, and time suddenly became very slow in his eyes. Some information around him entered his mind in a chaotic manner, making him feel very noisy and his mind was in chaos. But with the application of the medicine, his eyes quickly became clear. In the rapidly running brain, various information is processed in categories. Everything he sees and hears is processed in an orderly manner through his brain, with a few of them specifically selected by him. That was about 500 meters ahead, a blonde foreign girl holding her tired eyes and talking to another foreign man. Their voices were not loud, so when it came to Chen Ang, only a tiny mosquito-like sound remained. However, under the analysis of his brain, this sound appeared exceptionally clear in his ear. Baby. Don't do this. Richard, I have to go now. The two were pulling and tugging at each other. In fact, Chen Ang already knew what they were going to say. In this state, Chen Ang could retrieve any details from his memory, even if it was a movie he had watched when he was bored. Yes, for Chen Ang, this is a scene that has appeared in movies. Superbody, also known as Lucy, is a science fiction film released by the United States. The main storyline is the story of a two-cornered girl becoming a god, and now this scene is the opening scene of the movie story. 3 days ago in the real world, Chen Ang was still an ordinary high school student struggling for the college entrance examination. However, an unexpected awakening allowed him to travel through a world derived from human fantasy works and embark on a completely different path in life. Now, he is a beneficiary of NZT potions in the world of Endless, a scientist with 13 doctoral degrees. His reason for coming here is for the silver suitcase in the man's hand, which contains a new type of virus CPH4, which is derived from growth hormone in human fetuses and has the potential to develop the brain. In the movie, Lucy is invaded by a large amount of CPH4, causing her whole body cells to be stimulated by drugs. Her brain development surpasses that of ordinary people, gradually moving from 20% and 40% towards 100%, and finally merging with the universe. Chen Ang's goal is certainly not to integrate with the universe, but this incredible drug is an excellent research material for him now. Due to taking the same brain-developing drug. NZT, Chen Ang has a strong desire for this more powerful drug. In the world of never-ending, NZT, which has a slightly inferior effect, he knows well how tempting this state of increased brain development can be. Difficult materials that were previously difficult to understand, various knowledge that could not be learned or understood, can be learned and applied instinctively. In modern society, knowledge is cheap and expensive. The cheap is the channel to obtain knowledge. From the internet and libraries, modern people can obtain a large amount of knowledge carriers at a low price, while the expensive is the knowledge itself, which is priceless. Similarly, CPH4, which enables people to acquire knowledge, is also priceless. At this moment, the two people across from him had already started arguing. Richard suddenly handcuffed Lucy's hand, which made her very angry. She screamed, "Quickly untie this thing for me. I can't do it, Mr. Jiang is the only person with a key." Chen Ang had already walked up to them and suddenly spoke, "That's not it." "Who are you?" Richard looked at him in surprise and then fiercely threatened, "Listen, kid. Whoever you are, it's best to forget what you heard, otherwise I'll." He suddenly stopped talking. Seeing the grab in Chen Ang's hand, Richard obediently raised his hand. Lucy, who was standing beside her, watched the scene in shock, nervously covering her mouth and sobbing. "All right. As long as you're obedient, I guarantee you'll all be fine." Chen Ang's voice was filled with convincing charm. "Now come with me." Using some hypnosis techniques, the two obediently got onto the bus parked next to him. Without waiting for Richard to sit down, Chen Ang slapped him in the back of the head, causing him to fall into a coma in the seat. Lucy obediently sat next to him and begged, "I don't know anything, no, in fact, I just met this guy." "Lucy, it will be okay soon." Chen Ang comforted her. Soon, the car was driven by Chen Ang to a building and Richard was locked in the basement. Chen Ang took Lucy to a huge laboratory. Looking at the cold instruments, Lin-Li's flasks and test tubes in the laboratory, Lucy nervously shrank her body and whispered, "Sir, can I go now?" Chen Ang patted the lounge chair in the laboratory and said to Lucy, "Now lie down here, I need to make sure you forget something." Lucy pleaded upon hearing the words, "No, sir, I promise." "Lie down." Chen Ang's voice cooled down. Lucy, who didn't want to offend him, lay obediently on the lounge chair, hoping to be safe. She watched as Chen Ang leaned against the password lock of the silver suitcase, played with it a few times, and then opened it. Inside lay 4 packets of blue powder. Before she could see it clearly, her head sank and she fainted. Chen Ang ignored her and carefully selected some from the 4 packages of CPH4. He nervously immersed himself in the analysis. This substance, which the mother secretes in small amounts at 6 weeks of pregnancy and affects the development of the fetus's brain, has incredibly magical properties. It is an important presence that endows the human mind, and this crystal-like substance, like sapphire, is a deadly poison for adults who inhale small amounts. To make use of it, Chen Ang needs a long period of research. Chen Ang has special skills for this process. In the movie, NZT and CPH4 are two completely different things, but after the movie becomes a reality, it is absolutely impossible to say that these two drugs have no similarities. The mechanisms they use and their effects in the brain must have similarities. And this similar mechanism will be an important direction for me to improve CPH4. Chen Ang took a test tube containing CPH4 and disappeared into the laboratory. Quickly, in the underground experimental base of the endless world, he changed into a white coat and warmly greeted people. Dr. Chen. The progress of NZT has been fruitful. The basic pharmacological analysis results you requested have been obtained, and the expert team is preparing. A researcher wearing a mask presented a report to Chen Ang. Doctor, the laboratory is ready, another researcher hurriedly ran over and said. Without saying a word, Chen Ang turned to the laboratory, which is the best laboratory in the world for endless, capable of preparing higher precision NZTs. If it weren't for the estimated powerful side effects, Chen Ang's brain ability could be developed to 40%. Of course, after 2 hours, he would become a brain cripple. According to the experiment, time is relatively independent in the different worlds that Chen Ang travels through. In the world he is not in, time stops, which makes it difficult for him to use time acceleration to cheat. In fact, lifespan has become Chen Ang's second urgent problem to solve after the side effects of brain development. Bringing Lucy's blood and CPH4, Chen Ang worked tirelessly for an afternoon. In front of him was the blue potion, which was his only achievement. The side effects of NZT were reduced by half, but there was no progress in research on CPH4. It can only prove that Lucy's serum has a miraculous effect on relieving the side effects of NZT. It seems like it's time to overclock twice. Chen Ang frowned. He called the state of accelerated brain operation the overclocking state, and the effect that the NZT drug's no side effect weakening version can achieve is ordinary overclocking. The normal version of NZT drug can achieve overclocking of 1 degree, while the effect of strengthening NZT drug can achieve overclocking of 2 degrees. In addition, there is a concentrated version of overclocking of 3 degrees, which Chen Ang jokingly called the semi-finished product of brain disability drug. In the next 6 months, significant progress has been made in the research and development of NZT drugs. Not only have they achieved the non-side effects of overclocking drugs and practical low side effect overclocking second-degree drugs, but they have also completed preliminary pharmacological research on CPH4. However, its serious side effects still plague Chen Ang. Lucy has been imprisoned in the world of Superbody for a week now. Regarding this precious material, Chen Ang is extremely careful to maintain her relatively happy mood and obtain a limited amount of blood. A few weeks ago, Chen Ang took the risk of taking a little stem cell from her spinal cord to study the world of endless. Now it is almost time to produce results. Chen Ang observed the changes of NZT in the experimenter's body, frowning and thinking. He opened the experimental notes next to him and recorded that in the experiment, the efficiency of DEDI did not increase with the increase of concentration. On the contrary, the appropriate concentration can play the best role. However, when DEDI is injected throughout the body, its efficiency will suddenly increase, which proves that DEDI not only plays a role in the brain, but is closely related to the overall human body. Perhaps ancient Chinese medicine is correct. Not only the brain and spine are the sources of human intelligence, but also the theories of human systems and systems have been proven to exist. Eddy's experiment on the injection effect of internal organs confirmed the role of the 5 organs and 6 viscera in regulating human emotions, which coincides with the theory of traditional Chinese medicine. Chen Ang picked up a nearby book called Su 1 and flipped through the chapter on Qi. He continued to record in his notes that the rational development of Lucy and Eddie cannot be achieved without ancient Chinese medical wisdom. The non-side effect utilization of Lucy may be closely related to the Qi of the human body. In this regard, the two masters of Jianghu can provide me with great help. Doctor. Important achievements have emerged. A researcher hurried over. It seems that Lucy surprised us. Chen Ang strode towards the second laboratory and said happily. An elderly man with gray hair saw Chen Ang and walked up quickly. He was still in the state of NZT medication, with clear and firm eyes, but his voice was rarely excited. It should be noted that the biggest side effect of NZT improvement is the suppression of human emotions, which can make people in this state react, and their actual emotions will be very intense. Lucy made us successful. Under the influence of the second catalyst, Lucy appeared exceptionally stable, and we even made an unexpected discovery. He reached out and pointed to the liquid platform in the center. A purple potion flickered brilliantly under the light, and the researchers beside it gazed at it with fascination, like a rare gem. However, even if the real gem was placed in front of him, it would be abandoned like a shoe. Chapter 2. Overfrequency Power. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chen Ang spent a few minutes flipping through the research report in his hand. This is truly a miracle in the history of human evolution. Further development of the brain will make us a different kind of existence. Chen Ang looked at the purple potion in front of him and exclaimed heartily. Unlike Eddie, Lucy has a permanent effect on brain development, but it also causes fatal side effects. However, the second catalyst you brought back, Doctor, can have a decisive impact on Lucy. We have extracted a weakened version of Lucy from this, reducing the side effects to a level that the human body can tolerate. This is a gift from God. The old man expressed his excitement in a fragmented manner. The second catalyst is Lucy's stem cells brought back by Chen Ang, while Eddie refers to NZT drug and Lucy refers to CPH4 virus. Only Chen Ang knows the meaning of these codes. How was the effect? Chen Ang had to interrupt the excited and helpless old man. The old doctor took a deep breath and immersed himself in a deeper state of overclocking, before his eyes regained their composure. The effect is amazing. Doctor. The experimental subject remained in an overclocking state, and can even easily enter an overclocking state. As long as he is focused and does not require any assistance, he can autonomously activate the overclocking state. According to our examination, his brain development has exceeded 20%, and this part is a permanent activation state. Permanent status, enter autonomously. This is much more powerful than the enhanced version of Eddie. If the overclocking state brought by NZT drugs is still an auxiliary drug, then the permanent overclocking state is almost a superpower, and it is still the most incredible type of superpower. The brain overclocking is 20%, and Chen Ang can easily hear distant sounds. He can judge distance based on the sound, predict the behavior of the other person, automatically absorb a lot of knowledge, is not afraid of pain, has no fear, and has strong judgment. He can easily perform the maximum strength and movements that human muscles can carry, visually capture the speed of bullet movement, feel infrared and ultraviolet light, and even electromagnetic waves. He will be the strongest hacker, fighter, gun god, and scientist, but at the cost of a gradually collapsing body and increasingly fragile emotions. Chen Ang, who has been taking NZT for a long time, has become somewhat indifferent in his mental state and cannot accept his gradual loss of self. A powerful force must be carried by a strong heart, and within the body of Superman, there must be the soul of Superman. The ancient Chinese spiritual scriptures record that self-cultivation without cultivating one's life is the first disease of cultivation since ancient times. Only cultivating one's life without cultivating one's nature will make it difficult for ghosts and spirits to enter the holy realm. I must find a way to synchronize and strengthen my soul and body in order to continue walking. Chen Ang was determined in his heart, I must enter other worlds as soon as possible, find a path of balanced spiritual and physical development. From the Yellow Emperor's inner canon, my problem is a typical imbalance of essence, energy, and spirit. In this way, the internal skills of the martial arts world may be of great help to me. Has the medicine been perfected? Chen Ang asked the old doctor. The old doctor lifted his head and gestured for the needle opening on his neck. It's perfect. I've never felt so good now. The normal overclocking state no longer puts pressure on the body, but overclocking was still a bit difficult. It's best not to open it for more than 5 minutes on a regular basis, and you should rest for 10 minutes in between to avoid any side effects. Chen Ang looked at his emotionless eyes and a bitter smile appeared on his face. Isn't this just a side effect? Of course not, this is a manifestation of the perfection of the medicine. The old doctor pushed his eyes on the bridge of his nose and said seriously, the state of absolute rationality, excluding the influence of emotions, is the perfect human. Of course, I can't reach that state yet. I just have a clearer mind and will still be affected by those annoying emotions. Thank goodness. Fortunately, this is just a special reaction from you, not a side effect. Give me an injection of medication to strengthen it. Chen Ang walked to the experimental platform and lay down, with a soft strap stretched out beside him, gently wrapping it around him. 12 sharp pains hit his arms and body at the same time. Chen Ang watched as the violet liquid slowly entered his body, and the conversations among the researchers around him were prolonged. The sound and visuals jumped past his eyes frame by frame, and soon the familiar feeling filled his brain. Quickly, the feeling subsided, and Chen Ang gently shook his arm. His muscles began to wriggle layer by layer, easily breaking free from the rope that could bind the elephant. His skin kept wrinkling and wriggling, collecting sweat and dust, and cleaning the surface clean. Quickly, some dirt seeped out of Chen Ang's skin pores, visible to the naked eye. With a gentle shake, it scattered and fell clean. His skin was smooth like a newborn baby, and some parasitic mites and pimples were eliminated without a trace. The old doctor was shocked to see this scene, and his experimental notebook fell to the ground. What's going on? Has the potion enhancement failed? He nervously approached to check. At the moment his dream was realized, if there was any problem with his major investor or important partner in the research, it would be a nightmare. It's okay. Chen Ang waved at him, the reinforcement was successful. But the enhancement time has not yet arrived, and the time for the medication to take effect is at least 3 hours. You have just been injected. And there has never been any experimental record of controlling the micro-end muscles and nerve endings, which requires at least 30% brain domain development to achieve. The old doctor emphasized, even the overclocking state cannot control his emotions. Suddenly, Chen Ang's nose shed 2 lines of blood. He covered his head and let out a muffled snort, which scared the laboratory doctor to run up and check. No need, I can feel any state of my body. Just now, it was a manifestation of my brain overtaking at full strength, and my body couldn't bear it. This is at least a 25% overclocking state, but the medication can only be developed to overclocking 1 degree, only 20%, the old doctor puzzled. My brain is more developed than others, just 20%. Chen Ang muffled his nose and said. It is best for you to maintain a 10% omnipotent state, which is the best state that your body can withstand in the long term. 15% of the normal overclocking state is the limit state that can be sustained in the long term, and 20% of the overclocking state can only be partially activated, advised the old doctor. Under Chen Ang's control, his nasal cavity quickly returned to its original state. He lifted his head confidently and said, even if I am only in an all-around state, I am even stronger than you in an overclocking state. Chen Ang raised his hand and twitched slightly, feeling his muscles and endocrine system adjusted to their optimal state. Of course, you are the most magical genius I have ever seen. Chen, you are the person I admire the most. The old doctor looked at him sincerely and exclaimed, "The development of the brain, the secret of God's forbidden zone, will be the greatest discovery in human history. Only when scientists in human history add up can their contributions match yours, Chen. The reason why I see further than others is because I stand on the shoulders of giants." Chen Ang looked up at the old doctor and said seriously, "Give it a name." The old doctor pointed to the violet liquid. "You are its creator, its father, and you have this honor. Let's call it, Building Foundation Pill." Chen Ang smiled wickedly. "In the future, when developing other drugs, we will continue to call it Pill Fruit and Infant Pill, and create a series. Perfect Foundation Foundry Medicine. A very suitable name." The old doctor couldn't understand the joke of the heavenly kingdom and nodded in agreement, but the series of medicines you hoped for may not be achievable. Overfrequency 20% is already the limit of humanity. It has squandered millions of years of human evolution achievements, and further up, only when the next human evolution is completed, or a few geniuses can bear it. Without a doubt, I am that kind of genius. Chen Ang smiled shamelessly. "I'm looking forward to it." The old doctor nodded and smiled. A month later, in the training ground of the underground base, Chen Ang fired one shot after another at a 500-meter target. He held a special pistol and emptied one magazine after another. Quickly, several targets moved rapidly, and a small elevator imitated the trajectory of a flying bird, sliding in the air. Chen Ang fired at the speed almost without hesitation, often without even moving his eyes, shooting in the direction of the target. His left hand quickly changed the magazine, and the sound of the gun was stable and continuous. After a box of ammunition was fired, someone quickly ran towards the target, and then a voice came from all 10 rings. A strong man wearing camouflage next to him personally went to inspect it and ran over to admire it, saying, "With your pistol skills alone, you can also deal with 5 fully armed special forces." Chen Ang put on a small silver box and tied it with a thin strap on his arm. He waved his arm and tried to feel it, responding, but no special forces team would only send an action team. With logistical, intelligence, and tactical support, they can work together to turn such skilled marksmen into a sieve. But you don't just have marksmanship, behind you is not just your own shadow. "The power of the consortium will make you worry-free," replied the Han with a hint of meaning. Chen Ang's current ability can only confront a special forces squadron head-on. If he encounters a larger number of people, he will have to risk entering overclocking for a while or using his abilities to escape. Even some tactical teams can cause him enough trouble. Of course, the prerequisite is that Chen Ang does not have sufficient resources and support. Otherwise, as a crazy scientist by profession, his destructive power will increase exponentially with the abundance of resources and information. The massive army of tactical robots, tactical nuclear weapons, genetic weapons, and biochemical weapons is enough to make superpowers headache. Carrying several darts, Chen Ang stood in the testing room. Soon, a red dot the size of a coin flickered in a nearby corner. Chen Ang kicked on the wall and his body quickly flashed several infrared rays. A dart lightning struck and nailed it to the red dot. 2 more red dots were moving rapidly from behind, and Chen Ang didn't turn his head. 2 darts were nailed there, and the red dots appeared faster and faster. However, Chen Ang raised his hands and waved his hand, casting a few silver lights, and none of the red lights missed the net. In the next moment, dozens of red dots flickered in different places, some close, some far, and some still in blind spots and under cover. However, Chen Ang's body spun lightly, and the silver box on his arm opened silently. With his rotation, a piece of fireworks was scattered, and there were countless cold stars. The big man's face showed obvious surprise as he pinched his chin and murmured, "This killing power is no less than that of a small-caliber automatic rifle. Cold weapons are in the hands of experts, and their power is not inferior to gunpowder weapons." But soon he regained his senses and sighed, "But it's not as effective as firearms. If you practice these, it's better to customize 2 easy guns to grab." But some places are not suitable for using guns, which will scare the people there. On the contrary, these are much more useful. Chen Ang picked up a small crossbow from a small box and gestured. This crossbow has a longer range than a regular rifle, and its power is much greater than that of a rifle. Most importantly, it is not at all impressive. The big man looked curiously at the strange things in the box and reached out to touch them. Don't move. There is a drop of highly toxic drug inside that can poison a small town, as well as a mechanism barrel that can instantly shoot 30,000 silver needles. Importantly, the poison can be applied to the silver needles. Chen Ang warned him. Grass. The big man nervously withdrew his hand. Are you going to assassinate the president? No, just tell me if you want it. Why use this thing? Damn it, how was this thing made? I call it the heavenly extinction heart-piercing bone nail. Chen Ang put away the box and said solemnly, my research laboratory can do anything. Chen Ang was wearing an ancient Taoist robe with a fully armed hidden weapon belt underneath. He carried the small wooden box on his back, like a barefoot doctor practicing medicine. He locked the door from inside and disappeared without a trace in this airtight safety room. Chapter 3. The Beginning of Laughing Pride. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Chen Ang arrived in the world of laughing and proud Jianghu, he was not in a hurry to head towards Mount Hua. Instead, he dressed as a barefoot doctor, practicing medicine and walking towards Mount Hang. He also tried to interact with people in the martial arts world. Over the past 2 months, he has treated countless knife wounds and poisonous sores, which not only provided him with a lot of sample data on internal strength, but also gained some fame in the martial arts world. Due to his superb medical skills and expertise in surgery, especially a month ago, he gained great fame by performing a cesarean section for a child who had been poisoned by goo, earning him the nickname Sai Huatua in the martial arts world. This made Chen Ang feel a bit overwhelmed with tears and laughter. On this day, Chen Ang was correcting the deviation of his bones for a man who was practicing external skills. The tangled muscles and bones on his body made him frown and said, there is no correct way to practice external skills, and you can't see anything for a while. But after practicing for a long time, a person without a secret will develop abnormally. I have received several mnemonics that are incomplete and lack the core technique of breathing. Chen Ang took a few steps back and made a strange posture of stretching his body. He instructed the man, learn from me to do this posture. The man reluctantly pulled his body apart, his muscles almost twisting together. But he still endured the pain and carefully looked at Chen Ang. Suddenly, Chen Ang struck the man with a lightning-fast punch. Before the man could react, another heavy punch hit his lower abdomen. The man suddenly bent his spine, let out a painful cry, and was about to fall to the ground. However, Chen Ang still couldn't let go of him. He strode forward and hit his neck with an elbow, causing tears to flow from his eyes. The man was willing to give in and struggled to get up, but when he moved his hands and feet, he was surprised to find that the previous difficulties and stiffness in his body seemed to disappear without a trace. Before he could figure it out, Chen Ang lifted his foot and slapped him in the face, feeling a hint of relief. It was then that the man realized that Chen Ang's heavy blow had always hit the area where his muscles were tangled, loosening his stiff bones. That's great. That's great. The man was overjoyed, no longer covering up, and forcefully pressed his body against Chen Ang's fists and feet, fearing that he might not hit hard enough. Chen Ang saw his cooperation so well that he simply used his newly learned fists and feet on his body. Although there are targets to practice on weekdays, they are as refreshing as ready-made meat targets. Chen Ang raised his hand and hit Black Tiger's heart, feeling that the muscle movement was a bit unnatural. He adjusted it slightly, and it was another Black Tiger's heart. Chen Ang, with his amazing learning ability, has memorized many widely circulated martial arts techniques in the martial arts world from the warriors who came to treat his illness. However, those martial arts practitioners are already half-skilled, so how much reference can they provide? In the end, we still need to correct our playing mistakes bit by bit ourselves. No one in the martial arts world can match Chen Ang's ability to understand and sense the human body, but with just a few punches, Chen Ang's black tiger fist has already changed. He does not force his muscles to exert force according to the optimal results, but instead transforms his boxing techniques into the most suitable appearance while retaining the essence of black tiger fist. However, after a while, Chen Ang felt a subtle heat surge all over his body. With just a series of punches, Chen Ang felt a sense of anger. If those martial arts practitioners who had only been introduced for 3 to 5 years knew about this, they would have to stomp their feet and chest, shouting that the heavens are unfair. The reason is also very simple. Qi in the sense of qi refers to qi and blood. The feeling of numbness, itching, and swelling is nothing more than the stimulation given to the human body by the movement of qi and blood, and ultimately needs to be reflected in the human body. In this regard, no one can compare to Chen Ang, who has entered a complete state. It only took Chen Ang half a quarter of a moment from just getting started with his martial arts to developing his sense of anger. Now that he had let go of his hands and feet, each blow carried a weak vibration force. Whenever he hit the man, it would make him feel weak and exhilarating, making him excited. Great! Great! It's even heavier, even heavier. The big man rolled all over the ground when Chen Ang hit him, but his mouth kept shouting excitedly. I'll wipe it. Encountered a pervert. Chen Ang felt a tingling sensation on his back, and for a moment he dared not take action. The man saw him stop and quickly climbed up to his feet, about to hug his thigh. He was kicked several meters away by the chilly Chen Ang, and his body was heavily smashed against the high wall. With a happy moan on his face, he fell into a coma. Shit, he won't awaken any new attributes, will he? Chen Ang felt sick when he saw the big man lying in the corner with a flushed face. He had known that he would not use this method. In fact, acupuncture and moxibustion was just fine. He coveted the cheap free meat targets for a while, but ended up feeling sick. At this moment, a sweet voice came from behind, Sister Yilin, let's go to a different clinic. Chen Ang turned around and saw an 11 or 12-year-old girl wearing a red dress, looking at him playfully, as if she had seen something strange. This hurt Chen Ang a bit. He had the intention to explain to her, but reason told him that explanation was useless. He simply turned his head in indifference and pretended to be a cold doctor. Chu Fian is still alive and has already met Yilin. Calculating the time, it should have been after Ling Huchong and Tian Buguang were injured in a battle. Now, the Lu Jingfeng family has not been exterminated, but it will not be long before. What's wrong? We inquired about the best medical skills of Sai Huatuo. Brother Linghu was injured so badly, unconscious, and still waiting for us to bring the doctor back. A 16-year-old nun curiously poked her head out from behind her. Seeing Chen Ang's outfit, she clasped her hands together and urgently said, "Doctor, can you come with me for a consultation?" Chen Ang looked at her shy and cute demeanor, and knew where she was going on her own. However, he deliberately asked, "Oh. Which Guanfa High Temple is it, a quiet and precious place?" Upon hearing his question, Yilin blushed to the bottom of her ears. She was both shy and anxious, stuttering and unable to speak. Chu Fian rolled his eyes at Chen Ang and took out an ingot of silver, patting it in front of Chen Ang. "Do you want to do a business of 50 taels?" Chen Ang was mischievous in his heart and took out a larger gold ingot to slap back, saying, "Don't do it." Chu Fei had to take out a bunch of black needles and hold them in his hand. "Can we do it now?" Unexpectedly, Chen Ang raised his hand and a silver light flashed through. Chu Fian's wrist was numb, and he couldn't hold a large hand of the black blood divine needle, so he accidentally fell to the ground. Yilin clearly saw that a silver needle as thin as cow hair was nailed straight to the numb hole on Chu Fian's right wrist. It was just an ordinary acupuncture and moxibustion needle, which was light and soft. Even if an ordinary doctor held the needle in his hand, he might not be able to penetrate Chu Fian's wrist. However, Chen Ang was not close enough, but he could fly the needle into it. This vision and wrist power were really terrible. The accuracy of acupoint identification and the superb skill of needle use were even more shocking. Lin knew that this Sai Huatua was not a man with a false name. Chu Fian wanted to pull out the silver needle in a disheveled state, but her right hand just moved. The silver needle trembled slightly, and it was both sour and numb. She didn't have any bad intentions at all. After suffering such a big loss, she felt aggrieved in her heart. Tears streamed down her eyes like broken threads. She was already only 11 or 12 years old, still a little girl, and this tear made Chen Ang feel a bit helpless. "Don't cry. It makes me feel like I'm bullying a little girl." Alright. I'll go with you guys." Chu Fei lifted his head with a puff of smoke and whimpered, "You're just bullying me." He stomped his feet hard, ignoring the silver needle in his hand. He turned his head and wanted to run away, but only then did he take 2 steps, his body softened, and he fell to the ground. Chen Ang quickly walked up and pulled out the silver needle for her. "This is my unique technique for releasing the needle. If anyone gets this needle, without me personally pulling it out, they must not move. Otherwise, they will only feel that the silver needle becomes more and more powerful. Because when you move, the silver needle will drill into it. Fortunately, I shot a numb hole. If you run out of it in these 2 steps, you will only fall and die on the spot." Chu Fian was somewhat frightened when he heard what he said, with his bright big eyes open, hiding behind Yilin. Poor Chen Ang, who had been a high school single dog in the real world for half his life and had become a bookworm in the world of Endless, could only use intimidation to deal with girls. It can be seen that intelligence is beyond control when it comes to chatting up. Chapter 4. Qingcheng Dwarf. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Kunyu Yuan is a very famous place in Hengshan City. Even Chen Ang, who only came to Hengshan for 2 or 3 days, has heard of its reputation. It is the most famous brothel in Hengshan City. Tian Buguang is a flower picker, not only living in a brothel for a long time, but also going to the brothel when Ling Huchong is healing. I only pity Yilin, a little nun. For the sake of my beloved, I dare to venture into Longtan Tiger's den. Even though my face is about to burn, I still struggle to ask Chen Ang to enter. Chen Ang pushed open the door and saw a young man with a rectangular face, sword eyebrows and thin lips, half lying on the bed. The wound on his chest was wrapped in a cloth strip, with a faint medicinal smell. In Chen Ang's view, the wound was extremely deep, and even 3 inches would endanger his heart. The young man laughed wildly, and when he saw Yilin, he joked, "If you want to invite a doctor, why don't you bring me a pot of wine? When I come across good wine, I won't feel any pain. Why don't you try this method?" Chen Ang smiled and raised his hand. The silver needle flashed, and in the blink of an eye, there were 5 large holes that sealed his chest. The silver needles crisscrossed like a silver net, and in just a moment, they pierced Ling Huchong's entire body. The small silver needle seals the blood-clotting area, and the wound no longer feels faint pain. What amazing medical skills! Ling Huchong looked up and said. He was so badly injured that there was no sign of melancholy between his eyebrows. Instead, he was carefree and said, "I have received your treatment, so I am not afraid that the King of Hell will come and drink with me. Can you still drink with me?" Chen Ang picked up a glass from the table and handed it to Ling Huchong. As soon as Lin was about to stop him, he raised his hand and advised, "I am the doctor here. Everything here should listen to me. I want to drink with him now, but you can't stop me." Ling Huchong also smiled and agreed, "Not to mention anything else, this is really a miraculous doctor. Knowing that I drank alcohol, my injury was half healed first. Those quack doctors often advise people that drinking alcohol harms qi and blood. I'm sure they don't know that some people don't have blood in their bones, but alcohol." Chen Ang raised his hand and sprinkled a packet of medicinal powder into the wine, shaking it together before pouring himself and Ling Hucheng a glass. "I've never heard of this before, I just think you might be more willing to take the medicine with the wine." "Why did the gentleman pour himself a glass?" Ling Hucheng pointed to his glass and smiled. "Show sincerity to others." After hearing Chen Ang's words, Ling Hucheng lifted his glass without saying a word, drank the wine in one gulp, and laughed heartily, saying, "I regard my master as a gentleman, and you should not consider me a villain." There was an indescribable boldness. Chen Ang also raised his glass and took a sip. "I guard against the hearts of villains, not against the belly of gentlemen." After speaking, the two of them burst into laughter, drinking and chatting happily. Suddenly, someone outside shouted, "Yilin! Yilin!" Yilin was greatly surprised upon hearing this and exclaimed in panic, "Master!" She was about to get up and agree. Chu Fian quickly covered her mouth and whispered, "What is this place? Do you dare to agree?" Suddenly, she remembered that there was a stranger here, and quickly looked at Chen Ang together. Looking at the burning gazes of the two, Chen Ang felt something was wrong. He coughed twice and smiled, "I'm here to treat brother Linghu. I've never seen any little nuns." After a while, I heard Tian Buguang burst out laughing in the West Head room and sarcastically mocked Abbess Dingy. After all, Abbess Dingy was a monk, so how could she speak better than Tian Buguang, a common person? In no time, she was so angry that her face turned blue. Fortunately, Yu Canghai also heard this and came to trouble Tian Buguang. But after a while of intense fighting, the two of them were evenly matched, making it difficult to distinguish between high and low. Suddenly, Lu Jingfeng's voice was heard saying, "Master Yu, Tian Buguang is a notorious villain, and he will not die easily in the future. We need to deal with him, and we don't have to be busy for a while. This brothel hides dirt and dirt. Everyone should go in and search, and no one is allowed to leave." As Yilin in the room became increasingly anxious, she could only hear the shouting outside getting closer and closer. However, she checked into the room where they were located and looked at Yilin, who was completely disorganized. Chen Ang pointed to the nearby cabinet and said, "You hide in first, I will definitely not let them in." "Does Yilin have any other ideas at this time?" Being pulled by Chu Fian, he retreated into the cabinet. At this moment, everyone outside had already seen the candles in the room and shouted, "Go search over there." They rushed in. With a loud bang, the door was rudely kicked open, and the person in front of him was Hong Renxiong, a disciple of the Qingcheng sect. He saw Ling Hucheng sitting there, as if he had seen a ghost for a moment, and was so scared that he stepped back and made Chen Ang feel very strange. Chen Ang has been watching Laughing Proud Jianghu for a while now, but he doesn't know that Ling Hucheng has already been killed by Luo Renjie in everyone's eyes. Isn't this next appearance a ghost? Seeing a short man in a green robe again, he stood out from behind and looked coldly at the two of them, sternly asking, "You two, who is Ling Hucheng?" Chen Ang glanced at his face and said in shock, "The children from there have actually entered this land of flowers and willows. These parents really deserve to be beaten." Ling Hucheng couldn't help but chuckle when he heard him mocking Yu Canghai like this, but he still had some worries in his heart. Chen brother has no martial arts skills, and I look like this. If Yu Canghai were to make a mistake. It's okay, it's just a matter of risking one's life. Yu Canghai's face turned purple with anger. As the leader of a sect, when someone would talk to him like this, he raised his hand and a green light flashed, shooting a flying cone towards Chen Ang. His dark green martial arts were really impressive, and he raised his hand to reach the flying cone in the blink of an eye. Ling Hucheng was caught off guard and could only watch helplessly. He thought to himself, "No, I'm not good. I'll kick open Chen Ang's chair under my feet." Unexpectedly, Chen Ang's feet took root and firmly stuck in place. Faced with this chilling cone, he just smiled and suddenly raised his hand to press it down as the flying cone shot towards the door. Pop! With a sound. The mahogany table was slapped with a loud bang by him, and a 5-inch long green steel flying cone fell flat into the table, as if embedded on it. The people beside couldn't help but take a breath of cold air as they looked at it. This fierce flying cone was actually slapped by him flat halfway, and the power of his eyes and palm was truly shocking. It is said that during the Northern Song dynasty, there was also a Qingcheng sect on Qingcheng Mountain, which made it a unique weapon, Lei Gong Bang. 9 dozen Qing characters and 18 broken Cheng characters in the sect are their special skills, among which 9 dozen Qing characters are all articles written by Dark Qingzi. Leader Yu's flying cone is so elegant. Chen Ang said quietly. A hint of surprise flashed in Yuchanghai's eyes. Apart from his Qingcheng sect, no one had ever heard of these old martial arts stories. However, seeing Chen Ang's well-known appearance, it seemed that he was not unfamiliar. If such a person were not from a long-standing martial arts Holy Land background, they would definitely have obtained the legacy left by their predecessors. Speaking of which, it is also related to a martial arts case. It is said that during the Northern Song dynasty, there were 2 famous heroes in the martial arts world, North Xiaofeng and South Murong. One was truly a hero, while the other. Hi. That's not to say. Chen Ang glanced at Yuchanghai and suddenly changed his tone. South Murong has a magical skill called Dozhuan Xingyi, which is known as using the other's way to govern the other's body. The tone is really big. Yuchanghai suddenly spoke, unsure if it was about the changing stars or about Chen Ang. Linghu Chong on the side was a bit confused. He didn't know why Chen Ang had turned to old news from hundreds of years ago, but when he saw Chen Ang talking about the martial arts masters in the pile of old papers, it seemed like he had seen them with his own eyes. He couldn't help but feel even more mysterious and unpredictable about the other party. The reputation of Nan Murong's martial arts skills was too great, but it caused a disaster. Some famous masters in the martial arts world died under their own unique moves, causing a commotion in the martial arts world. Young generation, don't talk nonsense here. What does this have to do with my senior Qingcheng? Yuchanghai interrupted him and asked sternly. Oh. Don't worry. The leader of Qingcheng is just a background, one of the famous masters who died under his own unique skills. The so-called passerby armor is also true, but the character Qing is 9 hits, and the character city is 18 breaks, which is why his reputation is well-known. Chen Ang clapped his hands and smiled. Nonsense. Upon hearing Chen Ang's arrangement of his senior, Yuchanghai let out a furious shout, and his hands swelled in vain, a pair of flesh palms in the color of iron and stone. Although Qingcheng's sect is a renowned swordsmanship sect and its disciples often use swordsmanship, their true expertise and unique skills are a pair of heart-pounding flesh palms. Chapter 5. A bite of cold light breaks through the green city. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Yuchanghai was extremely angry when he took out such a master's skill. He unleashed the heart-destroying palm technique in his hands, and within a zhang of his body, it was shrouded in the palm wind. Regardless of the ferocity and cruelty of the palm technique alone, it was difficult for anyone in the martial arts world to surpass it. Good palm technique. Chen Ang exclaimed, but it's not really useful. Support your right palm backwards, extend your left palm forward, and hold 3 darts between your little thumb and ring finger. Your strongest index and middle fingers are holding a silver nail, while Linghu Chong, who is closest to him, can only see the ghostly shadows of his hands and the 6 dots of silver flashing between his palms. These 6 silver dots flickered in an instant, only greeting the vital acupoint of Yuchanghai. 6 swallowtail darts are all made of extremely tough titanium alloy. In high-speed motion, the aerodynamic shape simulated by a large computer endows them with unparalleled balance. With Chen Ang's exquisite technique, even a stone can pierce through, and there are also wonderful uses. Of course, Yuchanghai didn't dare to forcefully accept it. He only heard the faint sound of the wind from the friction of the darts in his ear, and he understood that forcefully accepting it was definitely an act of seeking death. As soon as his cloak flipped over, a refined iron mask protected his vital points, which was also his unique martial arts. He learned the face-changing technique from the Sichuan region's pranks, and paired it with a specially crafted cold iron mask. It was his undisclosed killer weapon. The cold iron mask was easily pierced like thin paper, but the sharp momentum of the darts also slowed down slightly. With the display of Yuchanghai's cloak, he had already shrunk to the ground. His short stature was blocked by a large cloak, causing him to have an elusive effect. The dart only pierced through the cloak, but did not harm him at all. Yuchanghai can also be called a genius for combining magic and martial arts so perfectly. But it didn't take long for him to be happy when he heard a soft sound behind his head, not from his ear, but from a group of onlookers. Ling Hu-cheng could clearly see that the 6 o'clock cold star flew out of the door, circled in mid-air, and then ejaculated back with undiminished strength, fiercely shooting towards the nearby Qingcheng disciple. Puff! The swallowtail dart shot in from the neck and pierced out in front of his mouth. Hong Renxiong didn't even have time to shout, so he covered his throat and fell to the ground. The other 5 disciples of Qingcheng, one covering their left ear, one covering their right ear, and 2 holding the piercing palms. The remaining one trembled and stared at the hat he had nailed to the wall, already terrified. This incredible darting technique scared the remaining few people to squat down with their heads covered. This is a boomerang. Yuchanghai cracked his eyes, but before he could react, he felt a slight chill in his heart. He quickly made a mistake in his footsteps and moved his body away from him with just a flick of his finger. Unexpectedly, 2 faint silver rays hit him lightly in the same spot, then ejaculated towards both sides. Yuchanghai glared angrily at the silver nail that was about to pass through his chest. With a sudden inhalation, his chest seemed to have been punched, sinking into a bowl-sized pit, narrowly avoiding the silver nail. After he took a few steps back and exited the door, everyone realized that his chest was ragged and had a 3-inch cut on it. All of this happened between lightning, fire, and stones. Ling Hu-cheng never expected that Yuchanghai, who had just been so powerful, was forced to retreat in embarrassment by Chen Ang in just one turn. He only fired 6 darts and 2 silver nails, which made the disciples of the Qingcheng sect lose all their fighting spirit. Chuan Lin de Yen, meteor chases the moon, looking back at the moon, and silver stars scatter. Yucang calmly read out Chen Ang's hidden weapon move name on the sea surface, without showing any shock. What kind of expert are you? Come and make things difficult for me, Qingcheng Jr. It's not difficult, I'm just teaching you not to come in and disturb me and brother Ling who's drinking. Chen Ang waved his hand and several disciples of Qingcheng heard him say this, so they were scared and quickly left the door. Yuchanghai saw his disciple being so disrespectful, but he only looked at Ling Hu-cheng in anger, with a hint of murderous intent in his eyes, clearly holding a grudge against him. Since your excellency doesn't want us to disturb you, then let's say goodbye. Yuchanghai endured his frustration and waved his hand to let his disciple restrain Hong Renxiong's body, swallowing this breath forcefully. Wait a minute. Chen Ang refused to spare him. Yuchanghai was extremely angry and threatened, what else do you want? Are you going to tear my face from Qingcheng? His tone was vaguely unfriendly, and Ling Hu-cheng knew in his ears that he was pulling the tiger skin flag of the righteous martial arts world. With Ding Yi and Lu Jingfeng pressing down, he was not afraid of Chen Ang's formidable hidden weapons. You disturbed my banquet, could you just say it and leave with a swagger? How could there be such a truth in the world? Chen Ang sneered. He knew he had lost his courage when he saw the flickering eyes of Yuchanghai. Just now, he had a lot of hidden weapon skills, and most of them were just learned from Yuchanghai. Is it possible to let go of this ready-made teaching material? When others learn kung fu, they all have to bow down to their masters, work hard for their sects, and only when they meet their masters who are in a good mood can they receive 1 or 2 true teachings and guidance. Such a shameless plea for help can only lead to some superficial learning. When they meet the master's 3 aunts and 6 grandmothers with backgrounds, they will be beaten down in 3 to 2 years. Even if you have obtained the secret script through a shocking adventure, you should be careful not to let your predecessors stay behind and tamper with and conceal it in key areas. From the famous disciple Mei Chaofeng to the third-rate martial arts practitioners who come to seek medical treatment, they have all been tricked for this. Where is Chen Ang like? With just 3 or 2 rounds of fighting, he can learn the things that are overwhelming him, which is equivalent to teaching his opponent hand to hand. He definitely doesn't want them to hide. It can only be said that Chen Ang's learning and understanding abilities are completely cheating in his all-around state. Just now, when Yuchanghai shot Chen Ang with a flying cone, Chen Ang recorded Yuchanghai's unique technique while overclocking, and even deduced several unexpected moves. However, when he used the learned technique to shoot back, it made the original owner unrecognizable. That is to say, Chen Ang's understanding of internal power is insufficient now. Otherwise, he would have wanted to show Yuchanghai a set of heart-destroying palms, so that he could know that there are also male and female differences in heart-destroying palms. If his mother encounters a male, he will not be strong anymore. But before Yuchanghai could speak, Ding Yi Shitai and Lu Jingfeng hurriedly arrived. Chen Ang put down his hand in disappointment, and this battle was probably not going to start. I didn't expect Yuchanghai to hold back his breath, but someone didn't want him to back down. Dwarf's skill of shrinking his head really broadens people's horizons. I will definitely show everyone the Qingcheng martial arts. If you can't shrink your head, you'll shrink your eggs. Ha ha ha. A hoarse voice suddenly appeared, shifting from left to right, making it difficult to hear the direction clearly. Where are those who hide their heads and show their tails? How dare they be reckless here? Yuchanghai couldn't help but lift his long sword and sweep around. Unexpectedly, before the person could make a sound, a hunchback huddled in the corner screamed, "How shameless are you, Yuchanghai!" The little hunchback arched his back and looked at Yuchanghai with a resentful expression, as if his gaze was about to devour someone. Others don't know who he is yet, but Chen Ang knows his background very well. That little hunchback, isn't he exactly the first tragic person in the original work? Lin Pingji, the young hero who killed his father in law in the palace with a knife after both his parents died and his whole family died. A typical celestial ghost and lone star, plagued by 5 evils. Not only did his entire family die, but he also married a wife and even the Yu family died. Of course, Lin Pingji's parents are still there, still a kind and slightly foolish young man, and he is not the same person as the cruel and ruthless Lin Pingji who will fight in the future. When Chen Ang was in school in the past, he was deeply moved by his tragic experience and often curious about what direction Lin Pingji's life would take without the demon-repellent sword manual. Is it to let go of hatred and become an ordinary person from now on, or is it determined to seek revenge and die at the hands of Yubuchuan? Lin Pingji is here, and Yubuchuan is not far away. In addition, there is a hidden wooden peak causing trouble on the side. The scene is really lively. If Chen Ang doesn't act, Lin Pingji will either be kidnapped by Wooden Peak or protected by Yubuchuan. Anyway, nothing will happen, or Yubuchuan won't let anything happen until he finds the exorcism sword manual. But Chen Ang really wants to know, if he takes Lin Pingji away, will Yubuchuan come knocking on him? Chapter 6. 5 Wonderful Skills. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hidden in the dark, Mu Gaofeng was discriminated against for a long time due to his ugly appearance and physical disability. Over time, his personality twisted and he became narrow-minded. He and Lin Ping were both hidden in the dark and saw past events. Seeing Chen Ang's hidden weapon so sharp, Mu Gaofeng's mind twitched and he thought of a poisonous plan. He asked Lin Pingji to go over and scold, while secretly instigating himself. In order to tear apart the face between Chen Ang and Yuchanghai, it was best to also involve the 5 sacred swords sect and make the water in Hengshan City more chaotic. He was shouting and scolding back and forth, causing Yuchanghai's anger to surge. If it weren't for Lu Zhengfeng and Abbess Dingy blocking him, he would have come forward and torn Lin Pingji's little hunchback into pieces. However, Lin Pingji had already regarded Chen Ang as his only hope for revenge, and he hated Yuchanghai to the bone. The more he cursed, the more vicious he became. Later, he simply forgot about the instigation and wanted to vent the evil energy in his chest, thinking that even if he was killed immediately, there would be no regrets. Chen Ang glanced at him and sighed, "Why don't you take care of your own life like this? Your parents fought hard to save you, hoping that you would live a simple and happy life and escape from this muddy water. You must seek revenge and save others, which is also a kind of filial piety. No one can say that you are not at all good, but now that you have not avenged yourself, in order to show off your temporary anger, you will waste your life, which is greatly unworthy of others." Lin Pingji's blood surged as he cursed. When he heard Chen Ang's words, it was like pouring a bucket of cold water. Thinking of his unfilial behavior, he couldn't help but kneel on the ground and burst into tears. The young man of Pingji's spirit, who killed the son of Yu Laogo, wanted to settle accounts with me. Even if he killed him, it was okay. I didn't feel any resentment at all. I just thought it was me seeking mercy. It's just that my father is kind-hearted, how innocent he is. He came to me as revenge for killing his son, causing my family to perish. How can I not hate him? I hate this old thief for being ruthless and committing many evil deeds, and I also hate myself for being young and ignorant, causing harm to my family. Let him kill me, which can be considered as a second revenge for me." Chen Ang shook his head and sighed, "You only know one thing, not the other. If you really think that Yuchanghai is going to kill your whole family just to avenge his son's murder, then you are completely wrong." "What?" As soon as he said these words, not only Lin Pingji looked at him in shock, but others were also shocked. Yuchanghai's face turned pale when he was told of a major event in the center, and he wanted to take action to stop it. But before he could do so, he was stopped by an ugly and peculiar hunchback. He lifted his messy hair on his forehead and chuckled, "Master, you don't rush to kill someone and silence him yet." It turned out that upon hearing this news, Mu Gaofeng couldn't help but realize his background. Yuchanghai looked at Mu Gaofeng and then at Chen Ang. He knew he couldn't stop these two people from joining forces. In the absence of any hidden secrets, Lu Zhengfeng and Abbess Dingy would never lend a helping hand. Following Abbess Dingy's jealous nature, if he knew the truth and didn't trouble him, it would be considered fortunate. He immediately snorted and waved his left hand, saying, "Let's go." Leading his disciples, he immediately retreated. Leaving Abbess Dingy, Lu Zhengfeng, and the disciples of the Hengshan sect standing in place, there was also Yu Buchuan, who was unknown to anyone except Chen Ang, who was invisible to the side. Lin Pingji suddenly heard the hidden situation, where there was nothing else to consider. He struggled and begged like Chen Ang, "Please tell me the reason, Senior, tell me the reason." The mournful voice made people sigh for him. Ling Hu Chon was by Chen Ang's side. Seeing this situation, he quickly helped him up. He had a chivalrous heart and pleaded with Chen Ang for Lin Pingji, "If Chen is not in trouble, why don't you tell him? Since I have pointed it out, I won't stop telling him. It's just that we have to start from scratch." Chen Ang said slowly, "Do you know that there are 5.5 miraculous skills in this world, which are the top in the world? Few people can stop them. As long as you practice one of them, you can't say you dominate the martial arts world, but it's not difficult to become famous and stand out for a while." "Oh?" Ling Hu Chong asked in confusion. Besides the Shaolin temples, Yi Jin Jing, and the Wudang sects, Tai Chi Chuan Jing, which martial arts can be compared to the current dual wall martial arts. Shaolin and Wudang are indeed the twin walls of the current martial arts world, and the Yi Jin Jing, and Tai Chi Jing, are indeed one of the 5.5 miraculous martial arts that I have mentioned. However, if we want to say that there are no pairs and no right, that's not necessarily true. Chen Ang lifted his glass and filled them up. The crowd exclaimed, not feeling that there was any martial arts comparable to this martial arts double wall. They only felt that Chen Ang was young and full of energy, with shallow knowledge. He was just talking big, but Yu Buchuan, who was invisible on the side, had a fixed gaze and listened attentively. Chen Ang smiled and said, the former leader of the demon sect, with a great reputation, has practiced one of the 5.5 extraordinary martial arts. Ling Huchong shook his head in confusion and said, let me act as the leader of the demon sect. Although he has excellent martial arts skills and is difficult to compete with, no one knows what kind of martial arts he practices. Even though he is very profound, it may not be comparable to the Qingcheng and Tai Chi Jing. Chen's words are indeed exaggerated. The disciples brought by Lu Zhengfeng and Abbess Dingy were whispering below, obviously disdainful of Chen Ang's words. They were mocking him softly, but instead saw more knowledgeable Lu Zhengfeng and Abbess Dingy, looking at Chen Ang with a serious and vigilant expression. Brother Ling Hu underestimates this divine skill too much. Perhaps in its depth, it is not as powerful as Shaolin or Wudang, but its power and terror even surpass both after practice. Chen Ang smiled slightly. What's so scary? Ling Hu Chang's face showed a curious expression. Chen Ang lifted his wine glass and pointed at it, saying, practicing martial arts is like standing water in this glass. We need to study and practice hard every year and month to accumulate some internal strength. It's like using a glass to catch 1 or 2 drops of dew every day, enduring for a long time, in order to practice all our internal strength. This is nature. There is no shortcut to cultivating internal power. Even a talented and highly intelligent genius must hone their skills every day, gradually increasing their power. Ling Hu Chong replied naturally. If there is a martial arts skill that can plunder the power of others, refine and grow into one's own cultivation, wouldn't such a skill be called a divine skill? Chen Ang said leisurely. As soon as the words fell, the disciples of Hengshan and Hengshan were indeed shocked and pale. Even the usually carefree Ling Hu Chong stood up nervously. Only Lu Zhengfeng and Abbess Dingy could remain calm. This was not because they had a deep cultivation, but because they had already known the news. When they first heard it, they were no better than Ling Hu Chong. People in the martial arts world all regard internal strength as their lifeblood. If they waste their skills, it is even more difficult than killing them with a single blow. The kind of magic skill that I allow myself to do has indeed caused a great stir in the martial arts world. If it weren't for Ren Wuxing's death, the disciples of the 5 Mountain Sword sect would have been repeatedly emphasized by their master, emphasizing the power of the star-absorbing technique. After a long time, the disciples of the 5 Sacred Sword sect below finally came to their senses and had the intention to refute Chen Ang's false words. However, seeing their senior leader's face sinking into the water, they were once again convinced. Abbess Dingy clasped her hands together and recited the Buddhist name in a deep voice, saying, "You're right, I don't know what the relationship between you and the former sect leader is. Why are you so clear about these old things? These things are already secrets of several major sects, and it's unlikely that the new sect leader of the Sun Moon Divine sect will easily reveal such information about the former sect leader." This makes Dingy doubt the origin of Chen Ang. After all, it's hard to believe that a master who suddenly appears and can push back Yu Canghai as soon as he appears has no background. What is Ren Wuxing? It's also related to me. Chen Ang's tone was terrifying, with a completely indifferent attitude towards Ren Wuxing. In fact, he had never really taken Ren Wuxing seriously. He really looked down upon someone who practiced third-rate martial arts such as the star-absorbing technique. Don't be fooled by Chen Ang's list of star-absorbing technique as a miraculous skill, but in his mind, star-absorbing technique is not even suitable for lifting shoes in the Qingcheng and Tai Chi Jing. Because in his mind, martial arts are used to sublimate the source of life, exercise the essence and chi of the soul, and the internal power is a strange force that unleashes the potential of the human body and balances the yin and yang of the 5 elements. All the martial arts that are used to enhance combat ruthlessness and increase power by digging holes are considered heretical and not worth mentioning if they do not involve human evolution. Others think that martial arts have great power, but in the eyes of Chen Ang, who comes from a modern society background, no matter how well you practice martial arts, can you compare to a fighter jet? Can it compare to a spaceship? The star-absorbing technique can absorb people's internal power. Can it be compared to Barrett who snipes you 3,000 meters away? It's ridiculous to pursue these paths without exploring the treasures of the human body, not following the path of longevity in evolution, and exercising one's spirit. In Chen Ang's view, the human body is an inexhaustible well. Whenever you think its potential is exhausted, it always surprises you. When Chen Ang's overclocking state is fully open, he can control every small nerve endings and micro-muscles in the human body, understand every detail of the body, but that's how the power of cells and genes cannot be controlled. Not to mention exploring for several months, it is still a mist of internal and mental strength. Chen Ang has always despised the foolish technique of using other people's mixed power to pollute his own potential well, as he would not have allowed me to be trapped under the Meizhuang. But as soon as he spoke these words, they attracted everyone's attention. We welcome all book enthusiasts to come and read. The latest, fastest, and most popular serialized works are all original. Mobile users are requested to read.